Brother Malcolm said, education is the passport to the future.
It's the real talk. Yo, it's that real talk, an in-depth conversation, breaking down how the past affects our situations. P. Brown, something critical for your conscience, not that daily nonsense, not swayed by the sponsors. Yeah, I'm black, but my perspective not biased. One God, one race, with a message that's timeless. Online with the message for the mass. It's time to unify or stay divided and distracted.
Brother Malcolm said, education is the passport to the future. What it do, my brothers and sisters? I'm Percy Brown Jr. with Real Talk, coming at you all the way live. In about 5 minutes that is, so let's get down to the biz. This past Monday was June 19th, which we all know is Juneteenth. Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration commemorating the ending of slavery in the U.S. in 1865, and it actually began on June 19th, 1865. So I'm going to use this time to reflect on Juneteenth, and here we are. It's been over 150 years since slavery ended, and we know that because of the 13th Amendment. In current day incarceration statistics, slavery is alive and well in the black community. So I want to take you 100 years later, right around 1968, the actual date, April 3rd, which is the day before MLK was assassinated. So I want to use that time period to reflect on where we may be today. So the day before King was assassinated, he delivered his "I've Been to the Mountaintop" speech, and he charged the black community with 4 things moving forward to accomplish the goal of freedom. Number 1, maintain unity. And he talked about how Pharaoh kept the Jews enslaved back in the day, right? And his method was keeping the slaves fighting amongst themselves. So I have to ask you today, my brothers and sisters, are we fighting amongst ourselves, or are we unified? Number 2, keep the issues where they are. And the issue that we're dealing with as a community is racial injustice. Number 3, do not turn around. The fight that we have before us, and even back then, is a generational one. And number 4 is economic withdrawal. Dr. King said, when we pool our money together, we are an economic strength. And in actuality, back in 1968, and we may be the same or even better today, if we pooled all of our dollars together, we would be one of the top 10 wealthiest nations in the world. Yes, the black community existing within the United States of America. So let me take you to 1990 or the 1990s, and I'm gonna go old school hip hop, and I'm going with my brother Nas. In the 90s, Nas came out with 2 songs that we need to consider when reflecting on Martin Luther King Jr.'s charge to the black community. Song number 1 was Black Zombies. If you don't know anything about that, go listen to it. Nas was breaking down the mental condition of black people in the community as a whole. And the second song is N-I-G-G-E-R. And in that song, Nas said, they say we N-I-G-G-E-R, we are much more. Still, we choose to ignore the obvious. Man, this history does acknowledge us. We were scholars long before colleges. And what does that mean today? And Nas is basically asking the black community, what are you looking for? And you know what? He says the answer and the question is within you and I. So the answer and the question to our problems are in the community lies within you and I. Now, let me talk about today, and I'm going to take you to the barbershop, y'all. I was in the barbershop this past Saturday morning, and it was about 10 brothers in the barbershop talking about the state of the black community, right? But we were also talking about the influence of hip hop on our young folks. And there was a young brother about 9 years old that was at the barbershop that was engaged in the conversation with the older brothers, right? And this young brother here, I mean, was super knowledgeable about history, about slavery, and the condition of black people. And then I charged that brother with saying, man, you know what? You could be the next MLK. And you know what that brother said to me? He said, oh no, not me. I'm not getting sniped. And I'm like, man. But he also knew about the lyrical content that's being put out there by our hip hop artists. And I'm gonna speak about 2 of them. We got Future and Migos. I brought up the song Mask Off. And the young brother right away started saying Percocet, Molly, mask on, mask off. And I was like, what? And I said, brother, you probably know that song from A to Z, don't you? You know what? The young brother said yes. So I asked him, what is Percocet and Molly? And he said drugs. So here we have a young brother who's very well aware of MLK, but afraid to take on the challenge of fighting racial injustice, but is also exposed to drugs out there, which is being influenced by our hip hop artists. So let me tell you a little bit about Molly and Percocet. Percocet is an opiate, you know what I'm saying, which is the main ingredient to produce heroin. Molly is a blend of known and unknown chemicals which produces a synthetic drug with devastating effects. They use over 200 different types of chemical compounds that are used to make Molly, and is sold out of China online to American middlemen who put all of these concoctions together, put it in a pill or in the form of snorting, and is flooding our communities. And these are the things that our hip hop artists are influencing on our young people and our adults. Now we got Migos and Gucci Mane with Slippery. And that song, he's talking about popping Molly and Percocet and being cruel to people with no conscience. They even talk about dissing, going to school and getting that knowledge. So here we have, you know what I'm saying, these things going on as far as messaging in our community, and we know good and well hip-hop artists are probably more influential on our young folks than anybody else, more so than the educators and even more so than the pastors. So where do we go from here? Are we living according to the charge of MLK? Are we unified? Are we keeping the issues where they are? And are we engaging in economic withdrawal and pooling our dollars together to build our own educational and economic infrastructures? So when you think about the charge of MLK, you think about Migos, Gucci Mane, and Future with what they're putting out there. Is the message that they're putting out there aligned to MLK's charge towards freedom? And when we think about this 9-year-old black boy being very knowledgeable of his history and who he is, yet being afraid to be the next MLK, but also being influenced by the use of heavy narcotics in a lifestyle that will probably get him killed faster than pushing and aligning with an agenda of MLK. So that's all I got, my brothers and sisters, just more food for your soul, food for your mind to get you to think about things. You know, have a blessed week. Peace out and Godspeed to the change we want to see.
Real Talk is a subsidiary of Critical Consciousness, LLC, a company that helps school systems and companies innovate with a focus on diversity and inclusion. Real Talk is brought to you in part by Madison 365, executive producer of Real Talk, Terrence Jackson, CEO of Up Next Marketing Incorporated. Intro song performed by Keon Andre of Cadence Music Group and produced by Greg Dobie of Unideck Media Group. Follow Percy Brown at www.percybrown.org or on Facebook and Twitter at Percy Brown Jr.